That's what I want to talk about today, the pros and cons of making big changes in your 40s and 50s. I often see the question, am I too old for whatever? Am I too old to go to PA school or NP school? Am I too old to become a doctor? Am I too old to change the medical specialty that I'm working in? These questions are very common, probably because in our 40s and 50s, even our early 60s, sometimes we're taking stock of our lives, looking at what we've done, thinking about what we've always wanted to do. But the real question comes to, should I do it? What are the reasons that I should do it? What are the reasons that maybe I shouldn't do it at this point? I feel qualified to talk about this because I did go to undergrad and PA school in my 40s, graduated from PA school when I was 46, started a new career in my mid to late 40s. And even within my career, I've not solely been working in one particular specialty. I've worked family practice, some urgent care, and then especially in my locums positions, I've worked in occupational medicine. So I have an idea of what it's like going into the different specialties being older. So let's talk about some of the big cons, the big reasons that people throw out there that why they shouldn't make a change. Probably the biggest reason that people are afraid to make a change is something that they may not admit to themselves, but they're probably afraid of failure. When you've got to your 40s or 50s, you may have been working in a career or a position that you're kind of comfortable in, and it can feel risky to jump into something that's different. Maybe you won't do as well. Maybe you will be a failure. Maybe people around you, your friends and family, will kind of scoff at the idea of you going back to school, starting a new career, or even just making a change into a different specialty. But it doesn't really matter what people think. The only one that it really matters to is yourself. And then, of course, if you're married or have children, you need to think about how it impacts your family. But other people's opinions don't really matter. We think that they matter to ourselves. We're concerned about what other people think. But the truth of the matter is that other people don't spend a lot of time thinking about us. And in fact, even if they scoff, they may be secretly impressed that you're willing to go out and try something different and new, maybe even a little jealous. Another thing that may stop people from making a change later in life is fear of finances and thinking about retirement. I mean, it's a lot closer, right? When you get into your 40s and 50s, retirement is a lot more real. So it is important that you take good stock of your finances, look to see what you can afford to do. Can you afford to leave your job and go back to school if necessary? Can you afford to, maybe if you're changing specialties, go down to a little bit lower salary until you gain your experience back up into that specialty? So those are things you have to consider. But it is certainly doable, especially if you're concerned about going to PA school and racking up some student loans, and will you have time to pay it off? Most likely it will not be a problem. And in fact, for some people, it's going to even put them in a better financial situation because PAs and NPs, they make good money. And if you're diligent and you are thoughtful with your money, you still should be able to pay off those loans and save for retirement. People may wonder if they are going to be too tired or physically able to do the job that they are looking at doing. And that is something to consider. PA school is tough. There's no doubt about it. People of any age struggle, and you're going to be tired, and it's going to be a challenge. But it's certainly very doable. While it's not the norm to go to PA school in your 40s and 50s, there are certainly lots of people that do it and do just fine at it. Now, it does get difficult when you're on rotations and you are in a surgery rotation and you have to be on call. You have to change your shifts in the ER, working nights one night and then working days, a day or two later. That can be a little challenging. Sleep sometimes is harder for people as they get older. But again, unless you have some serious sleep issues, it should not be a problem. Now, one thing to consider if you're changing specialties, then you might want to think about that a little bit more. Like, I have a good friend who is a hospitalist, and he works 7 12-hour shifts, and then he'll have 7 days off. And he gets tired. He's in his late 20s, but it's not a big deal to him. I considered the job, but I just don't know. I mean, I think I could do it. You'd probably get used to it, but do I want to do it at this point in my life? So those are things that you have to consider when you get older. Another thing physically, or mentally, I should say, that you have to consider is memory. As we get older, our memories are not as sharp. So I do think that I had to work a little harder in PA school to try to remember the things. Even now in practice, I look up the same things over and over again and get frustrated and wonder why I can't remember, wonder if it has something to do with my age. It may have something to do with it, but honestly, I talk to younger PAs and they have the same kind of struggles. They look up, sometimes you have to look up the same thing over and over again till it finally sinks in. And then women have to consider menopause. If you are in your late 40s, early 50s, you likely will be going through menopause during that time. And some people do suffer from menopause brain or brain fog. So you do need to take that into consideration. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can't ever do it, but it's just something to consider and maybe think about timing. And people may also have the concern, especially if they're transitioning from a different career to working in medicine, they may be concerned that they're kind of throwing away that career, or maybe concerned that they won't like medicine and what are they going to do then? Well, most likely you're going to succeed and be fine. And if you have an interest in medicine, you will probably be able to find an area that works well for you. But even if you don't, worst case scenario, you can always fall back on the career you had before. In fact, you'll have a graduate degree that may even open more doors that you haven't thought about. So what are the pros of doing it? Well, for the most part, like I said, people in their 40s and 50s are thinking about the things that they've always wanted to do that they haven't been doing, or realizing that what they did is not really fulfilling them, or they don't like it like they thought they would. So it is a chance to do something that is meaningful to you, something that will fulfill you and that will make you happier than what you're doing now. And to me, life is not about sticking and doing the same thing forever, even if you hate it. It's about exploring the possibilities. And there are lots of possibilities out there. Your 40s and 50s are still pretty young. You can have a great long career. If you graduate PA school in your early 50s, you can have a 20+ year career. That is a long time. In 20 years, you can do so much. You can even get to some of the highest levels in the profession. So don't let that stop you. Understand that you have so much to offer. You come with so much life experience. You will be a better, well-rounded provider. You will be able to relate to people better. You'll be able to walk into a room and command respect just because of your age, because people will automatically assume that you're older and you know what you're doing. That can help you when you go interviewing if you're looking to change specialties. The employers will probably view you as someone who is solid and has had a career and knows how to perform and get results. Also, when you're in your 40s and 50s, you usually have less distractions than when you're in your 20s. It's not always the case. I'm going to generalize here a lot. But when you're in your 20s, going to PA school or starting in a specialty, you may be dating, you may be looking to plan your wedding, you may be having children or raising young ones. If you're in your 40s and 50s, most of the time you're have your partner, or even if you are dating, it's not the hectic dating that people usually do in their 20s. Usually children are grown and out of the house, and you're not looking to be out partying every, Friday night, those kind of things. So it really helps you to be a little bit more focused when you're going to PA school or if you're diving into that new specialty. And finally, you just never know where these new opportunities are going to lead you. I never would have guessed that I would be hosting a YouTube channel, that I would be in the middle of writing a book. I don't think I ever would have done those things if I hadn't become a PA. And that's just one small example. When you further yourself or when you branch out and do something new, you just never know what kind of incredible experiences are going to come your way. And I encourage you to not be afraid of that. I encourage you to embrace that and to be excited about your life at this point. Instead of being stuck in a rut, you can be out trying new things, keeping yourself and your brain young. So if you are contemplating making a change, gather the information, look at it critically, make sure that you are able to make the change at that point. But certainly don't let your age hold you back. There are so many cool things to do in this world. And 40s and 50s is not that old anymore. I'm not going to go through the list of people here, but you can find examples everywhere you look of people who have done incredible things, whether it's physically, like running marathons or triathlons in their 70s and 80s, or people who have started businesses in their 40s and 50s or even their 60s who have become incredible successes, and people in science and academia who have made great achievements in their fields later in life. So I say go for it. Keep life interesting, keep having fun, and challenge yourself and discover new things.